All right, welcome back to American Sports Broadcasters, everybody. We are back, and a little earlier than you're getting this video. This is Thursday night, so whenever we get the chance to put that up, might be a couple of days later, might be Saturday, might be Sunday. So all our numbers will probably be a little bit out of date, and that's just the way it is. We can't really do anything about it because that's when we're both available to be here together. So. Let's go ahead and start off in the MLB. Brian, what do you got for us?
Well, I think one of the first things I want to talk about real quick today, Kurt Schilling was fired from ESPN for some comments he made about the North Carolina bathroom laws with transgenders. And basically, what he said, he had reposted an advertisement or an image showing an older adult male, basically saying if you don't let him into the women's bathroom because that's how he identifies, that you are a racist and very close-minded. And he added some other words to that. And I mean, he's been in trouble with this before, but I want to stay very brief on this subject. But basically, it goes to show, PC culture has taken over. I don't agree with this. And Kurt, if you're ever looking for a place to come, we'll have you on for sure.
We can totally afford it. That's
Yeah.
for sure.
Kurt, we would love to have you on.
No, but you really can't say stuff like that in this day and age, even if you agree with it, and you're just going to get in too much trouble to make it worth it. And I think we'll move on from there. So anything from the National League, Brian?
So I think the big stories from the National League are, well, the Nationals, 11-4, playing great ball. You have the Cubs also playing amazing ball. They just
got a no-hitter about, what, 30 minutes ago?
Yes.
Something like
It was
that.
very impressive over the Reds. They won 16-0. Jake Arrieta's second career no-hitter. Now the Cubs are 12-4, leading the Central Division. And then you have the Dodgers leading the West at 10-6. But the national success is coming from Bryce Harper. He's leading the MLB in home runs and RBIs. Right now, he has a 321 batting average, 8 home runs, 22 RBIs. But in the last 7 days, he has 5 home runs, 16 RBIs, and he's batting 400.
Those are video game numbers right there.
Yeah, I mean, he's playing out of his mind. And, and I know we talked in preseason, they were all, talking about all these big contracts and how he might be eventually a $500 million contract. And I still think that's outlandish. I think it's crazy.
It's so crazy.
But he's playing like he deserves a big, fat contract when that day comes. And then, as we said, we have Jake Arrieta for the Cubs. After his no-hitter tonight, his ERA is .87. He is 4-0, and he's pitched 5 games. So, I mean, he's just pitching out of his mind.
Do you happen to have his whip? Do you happen to have that stat?
I do not, but I know if I remember, I want to say I looked at it, I want to say it was like .67.
For those of you who don't know, whip is a formula derived based on how many hits and walks a pitcher allows. I'm not entirely sure how it's calculated, but it mostly deals with those two numbers. Is that all you have from the National League? Or?
Still one more thing, I had talked about last video, Trevor Story for the Rockies. Right now, over the last 7 games, he's been falling a little bit. Averages .185. He has 1 home run and 1 RBI over the last 7 games. But still impressive numbers for a rookie overall. .274 average, 8 home runs, 14 RBIs. And as I said, watch those Rockies. They're a game and a half behind the Dodgers. I'm telling you, watch them this year. It might be crazy to say, but it's my bold pick. And I think they're going to do big things this year. But Trevor Story's got to get back on track.
All right. Out of the American League, let's start with the American Central. First of all, some big things with the roster. Jarrod Dyson coming back to the Kansas City Royals after his first swing in spring training. He went out with an oblique injury, and he is just now getting back. Just started playing again on Tuesday against the Tigers. They sent back down Raymond Fuentes, who I gotta say did a heck of a job with his opportunities that he got, just trying to show the managers that he can play every day. And the only reason they sent him down is just because they want him to play every day because they still have quite a few outfielders. And which brings up an interesting point. They now have Terrence Gore. He's still on the major league team, and he's been on the major league team in the past in the postseason because of his speed. I'm sure anyone who knows anything about who has watched any of the postseason games is known about Gore's speed. But you don't really hear about a team having a permanent pinch runner on the roster. You hear about a pinch hitter, or sometimes in the American League you'll have a platoon DH. But the Royals really do things differently in that you have a pinch runner for extra speed, not something you see very often. So keep an eye on that. And then Salvador Perez, he hit a career high 5 RBIs on Tuesday against the Tigers to push them over 8-6. They are now 10-5 after beating the Tigers again tonight. So they took the series 2-1, 2 out of 3, and so they are now in first place over the White Sox, who are 10-6. Chris Sale, though, doing a heck of a job. He's 4-0 with a 1.80 ERA. Jose Quintana's doing good, 1-1 with a 2.05 ERA. And then Matt Latos doing really good. He's 3-0 with a .49 ERA. And then the offense, they're still waiting on that. It's very average offense. Doesn't really score a whole lot of runs, and it has cost them a couple of games, but they're mostly relying on their pitching and defense to get them through to win games. And then in third place, we have the Detroit Tigers at 8-6. They are really good offensively. I don't know what else to say. A lot of very veteran hitters, lots of very good hitters. The interesting player there is their catcher, Jared Saltalamacchia, and yes, that name is a MLB record for the longest name in Major League history with 14 letters. He was their backup catcher because they've been grooming James McCann for the last couple, or maybe it's Brian McCann. Brian McCann? Sorry about that, Brian. But they've been grooming him the last couple of years to be their everyday starter. He's on the DL. So Jared Saltalamacchia, he's coming in. He's a veteran guy, and he is now leading the team with 5 home runs and making a case to stay. Jordan Zimmerman on the pitching side, he's 3-0 with a 0.00 ERA. So just about as good as you can get there. He's definitely the best pitcher in the rotation. Just to give you an idea, Justin Verlander's at a 7.16 ERA. Yeah, I told you guys earlier they should have traded him. It's a lot of baseball left. He'll probably get that ERA down quite a bit, but sell high. That's all I gotta say. The bullpen is very much improved in Detroit, however, and they have not lost yet when they've had a lead in the 6th. So that bullpen looking much better this year than it did last year. Takes us out to the AL East. We got the Orioles and Blue Jays at the top. I did not get to see who won that game tonight in the series, but there was game 1 went to Toronto 4-3, and then game 2 went to Baltimore 2-3. So two very evenly matched teams. At Baltimore before tonight, they were 10-4. They have 3 different guys with 5 home runs. So Detroit had 1 guy with 5 home runs, and they're a great hitting team. And then you have Baltimore with 3 guys with 5 home runs, just to give you an idea there. Their starting pitching is pretty shaky. They got four guys in the rotation with an ERA over 5, and then their game plan, it seems to be just to pretty much outscore the opponents, which works when you're hot, but not always the best plan down the road. So we'll see how that goes for them. And then the second place, you got Toronto Blue Jays, 8-9. Josh Donaldson is still hot from last year. He's already hit 6 home runs. He's got a great batting average, and most of the lineup has pretty good batting averages. J.A. Happ has a 2-0 record with 1.89 ERA, and Aaron Sanchez 1-0 with 1.35 ERA. And the rest are pretty average. Keep in mind, they no longer have David Price after he went to the Red Sox in free agency. Um, and then in the AL West, we got Texas Rangers, who earlier this week they re-signed Adrian Beltre to a 2-year deal for $36 million, and he's 37 and probably a future Hall of Famer. But he said he's feeling pretty good. Says he feels like he's 25, and he's actually second in among active players in games played. So interesting fact there. He's been around. And
Well, yeah, and we also saw during a game, Elvis Andres thought that he hit a home run to left field, and it actually came short. And Beltre sort of stared him down a little bit. Said, "What are you doing? You're not running. You need to run it out." Sort of, that veteran player taking Andres under his wing, sort of, playing around with him.
very much the captain of that team, and they think that if there's a guy who's going to bring them into the playoffs and bring them deep into the playoffs, they think it's going to be Adrian Beltre. And I think it was smart by them to sign him just to a 2-year deal, so that if he starts not being able to produce at the age of 39 there at the end, then at least you don't have him locked up for a long time for big money. But the Rangers, for the most part, have fairly low batting averages, but pretty high RBI numbers. So they're finding other ways to score, probably with sac flies, a lot of those, and groundouts and all that fun stuff. Not too many home runs either. So I mean, there's a few here and there, but at least compared to other teams, maybe average, maybe a little below average even. Their starting pitching is solid, but not great, and but their starting pitchers don't have many losses either, which means that those 6 losses that they have are all coming from the or 5 of them are coming from the bullpen. I think I saw that only 1 was from a starting pitcher. So they need to work on being able to finish out games, but surprising to see they kind of go against the stats with the way that they've been managing to win ball games. So they might be a fun team to watch. Oakland in second place at 8-7. They got off to a shaky start, but they've won 4 in a row to bounce back to second place. Offensively, there's nothing really noteworthy. They're not super great. They're not super bad. But they have 3 starting pitchers with an ERA between 2 and 2.79. So they're relying a lot on pitching, and their bullpen is doing great. They signed Ryan Madson as a closer, and they added Doolittle. Or I believe they added Doolittle this year, maybe a year or 2 ago. But he's a fairly new guy who they think can do a lot of good stuff for them. And the last team to really keep an eye on in the AL, the 5-10, but still keep an eye on the Astros. I'm telling you, they will get better. It's just they had a lot of troubles early on last year too, and that second half of the season after the All-Star break, they really picked it up and were able to get going again. All right, that's all I got for the American League. Ready for NFL or?
Yeah. Let's go ahead and go to NFL.
All right, so news for the NFL. I've got really only 2 big things here. If you haven't heard yet, Johnny Manziel was dropped by his agent, Drew Rosenhaus. And also, earlier this year, he lost his sponsorship with Nike, and he caused $32,000 worth of property damage. And he will likely also be indicted for a domestic violence incident. So, Johnny Manziel not really doing anything right now. I don't know, anything to add, Brian?
I mean, not only with the Nike, but this is the second agent that's dropped him in the last 2 months. And he still has a chance to regain his agent if he were to go to rehab within a 5-day window. So that time is dwindling. But I mean, I think nobody likes to see this, but a lot of people saw it coming. He's constantly doing this. He did it when he was at A&M. It just wasn't as known because A&M tried to hide it because they were winning and they want to keep them around so they can win. And I just think this shows what happens when you have somebody who isn't ready to go to the pros and they get hit with all this money. He hasn't matured. I don't think he has a future in the NFL. I'd be very surprised if he is playing or picked up by any team. I think for any team it is suicide to pick him up. I think it's a lot of wasted money for anybody to pick him up. I think he's done in the NFL, and I think any more we'll hear from him is more partying and more arrests.
Well, yeah, I think this is really one of the first times that he's had to be humbled at all, really, in since A&M at least. He was the big star there, two-time Heisman winner, and then NFL hits, and look, you're not as good as you thought you were, and just couldn't get his act together, I guess. So let's move on from that, and another big draft trade that happened this week. The Eagles traded for the second overall pick with the Cleveland Browns. So they got the second overall pick this year, and also next year they got a fourth round pick from the Cleveland Browns. But they gave up their first round pick this year, the eighth overall. That's not bad. And then this year also their third round pick. Oh, okay, I can see that. And then this year's fourth round pick. Okay, I guess. And then 2017, they gave up their first round pick from that year, and in 2018, they gave up their second round pick. So not only are you giving up picks from this year, but you're also hurting yourself in future years for one guy. And the Eagles have many, many issues, but this is not the way to solve them.
And I was watching it. I think that they're going to go after Carson Wentz, which we talked about last week. Quarterback from North Dakota. I don't, like I said last week, I don't know how good a quarterback can be from Division II playing in the Missouri Valley division of Division II football. It's I'm not downplaying his success. He's a great player, I feel, but we've seen so many quarterbacks turn to bust in the NFL. So I think the Eagles are shooting themselves in the foot. I think it's a bad move, but we'll have to see.
Well, and they need a quarterback. That's not the question. It's just the way they're going about it. They're giving up a lot for a big question mark, and it doesn't seem smart to me. So they don't have a history of making good decisions, though. So do with that what you will. I suppose that takes us to NBA now.
Yes.
Man, we are flying along in this video.
Yeah, so NBA, my biggest takeaway so far is my bold pick is going a little bit against me. The Hornets are down 2-0, and the biggest.
That game one, they lost by about 30 points or so.
Yeah, the biggest thing is I had talked about that Jeremy Lin was the it factor. He's about averaging 10 points per game, 1.5 assists per game, about 20 to 25 minutes a game. And the biggest thing out of this is just Dwayne Wade is playing too good. He's playing too good, and the Hornets defense is awful, absolutely awful. If they can start playing some defense, if they want to even have a chance in this series, they need to start playing defense. They need to neutralize Dwayne Wade. He's just too good.
Well, that game one, we saw 3 or 4 games that were just blowouts and crazy. If you just go and look at it on the internet, it's just blowout. You're like, this is a playoff game? Come on, what are you doing?
Exactly.
Okay, so what else do you got for us, Brian?
And talking about those blowouts, the Spurs are destroyed Memphis, which it comes to no surprise. They're having some injuries, and nobody saw them doing much in the playoffs this year.
The Spurs were the second best team, I think, in the whole NBA, and also very, very good win record at home. I think they only lost a game or two at home, so tough to beat them.
Yeah, I would say one of the big stories, though, and the game is being played as we speak right now. The Warriors versus the Rockets, and Steph Curry is out this game. He's been having some problems with his ankle, and they were questioning should we play him, should we not. I think it's a smart decision not to play him. You have to save him for down the road. I don't think the Warriors will still have any problem with the Rockets. Um, but that is a little worrisome for Golden State down the road if he can't get it healthy and get it to where he can play in those big games when they're going to need him.
Well, they've shown the ability to win without Steph Curry this year, and I think it is smart to just bench him just to be safe because even if you take a loss here, you only need what 4 wins. A game of 17. You need 4 wins to advance to the next round, and so you sit Steph for a day, then I think an off day tomorrow. So he should be pretty. You just rest him. You play it safe. You play the long game for the championship.
Yeah. I think another series to talk about is the Hawks and the Celtics. We both had picked the Celtics, but they're down 2-0 to the Hawks.
That first game though, really close game. Could have gone either way. Celtics missed a game-winning shot at the last second, and they lost the game by 1 point. Second game, not quite as close, about a 10-point differential. And I think that first game probably really set the tone. I think if the Celtics can come back from this, then props to them. That they fought really hard. But I think from here on out, I think they are probably going to lose because I think that I gotta imagine that first game took a lot out of them just morally. You get so close and you play them and just close but no cigar. And I think they're going to be demoralized and not be able to bounce back.
Right, but you can't hold much against him. Brad Stevens in his first year there at the Celtics. So not too big a problem. I don't think they have anything to worry about down the road.
Yeah, in the future they should be pretty good. I think this is 4 of their 5 starters. I think it's their first time being in the playoffs, and also it's the first time they've been in the playoffs for 8 years. So definitely improved from recent past. It's just not quite good enough this year, I don't think.
Right. Another one to talk about is the Thunder and the Mavs. They did play tonight. The Thunder now up 2-1 in the series. And, I said Kevin Durant was a key player in this. He's averaging 22 points per game. He had 34 tonight against the Mavs. And I mean, he's always been a dynamic player. He's been playing out of his mind this year. And it's really good. And, for the Thunder, they better hope that they can somehow pull off something crazy because Kevin Durant does go free agent. I know he loves OKC, but there's a lot of talk that, OKC won't be able to pay him what he's due. He's an amazing player. I'd love to see him stay with OKC. I think it's a good fit for him. I like seeing him play for them. But I wouldn't blame him going somewhere else because I mean he is a good player and he deserves to be paid. What he's valued at.
And with the increased salary cap next year, could be really interesting to see who he goes to because maybe OKC can pay him now, maybe they can't. It'll all just depend. The Pistons and the Cavaliers, we predicted the Cavaliers were going to win that. They are right now 2-0. But that game one again, the Pistons came really close. I believe that score was 106 to 102, something like that. And the Pistons really gave them a run for their money. They fought their hearts out, just didn't come away with the win. Again, that game two, a lot like Boston, not quite as close, about a 10-point differential. And probably not going to win the series. We didn't think they would, but I think they proved that they weren't out of it. A lot of people thought that it was just going to be handed to the Cavaliers, and I think they're showing that it's not just going to be handed to them. They're going to fight for it.
Right. And I think this shows. I don't think the Cavs are as good as a lot of people think. I'm not downplaying the Pistons, but the Cavs. I think they're so dependent on LeBron James being LeBron James, and I know they have other players out there like Kyrie Irving and stuff like that, but I think this needs to be a realization for the Cavs and for everybody else. I do not see them making it to the finals. I'm not sure exactly who's going to beat them. Could be the Heat. But I don't think the Cavs have it this year.
All right. Anything else really noteworthy?
I think that's it for the NBA.
I guess we'll just tell you where else everybody else is at. Raptors. You said beat the Pacers tonight, right?
Yeah, so they're 2-1.
So 2-1 over the Pacers. And I think the only one we didn't talk about is the Clippers beat the Trailblazers 2-0, and I think last I heard that's what it's at.
Yeah. Yep. So, well, we appreciate you watching. If you liked the video, share it, comment. Keep on watching.
Comment about the length too. This is probably the shortest video we've ever had, just by coincidence, I think. But if you like them shorter, then let us know. We'll try to work on that. Also, if there's just a certain thing you want to watch, you can just skip to that section. Seriously, any suggestions you guys have would be really appreciated. Remember to like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel, really helps out the videos. And we'll see you next time.